Hi guys, welcome to another video. Thanks for checking in, if you've been supporting this channel so far and liking some of these videos and watching them and subscribing, thank you so much. It really means a lot, genuinely. If you're new here, welcome. Today we are at a place called Kelly Hall Tarn, which you may or may not know. It's near a little village called Torva, which is in the sort of southwest lakes, not far from Coniston. And this is it. It's pretty small, okay? I was quite surprised the first time I came here and saw how small it actually is. But it's a kind of a nice little tarn, and there's a few obvious compositions that you can go for, I think. And what we'll do is we'll just have a little walk around the tarn and I'll show you what I think those compositions are. All right, okay, let's do it. So the first obvious kind of feature that you look at, that you come across when you kind of walk around the tarn, is this kind of weird looking tree that's growing out of this sort of grassy root bed. I guess that could be used, right? You know, we might be able to kind of get a bit of separation like this, or perhaps combine it with the pine that's in the background and the reflections of that pine to get a shot, maybe frame something like this. I'm not that excited by this tree, if I'm totally honest with you. Just looks a bit ugly. Sorry, tree. But you know, look what we've got going on here. I don't think it, for me, makes that great a subject, so I'm not really that excited. I mean, we'll see what happens when the light drops and when we get some nicer light. The thing that I am definitely more interested in is this lone pine over yonder, okay? Obviously we've got the reflection. If we drop a little bit and create some separation between the pine and the mountain in the background, and Mike conveniently underneath it, giving it scale, then there could be quite a nice composition there, you know, really focusing on that, on the symmetry of that reflection. And then we have got this, all this kind of stuff going on for foreground interest. We've got a load of kind of reeds and whatnot growing in the actual tarn itself. I think another classic composition here was going to be something along these lines. On my little screen here, it looks like we've lost a lot of detail in the shadows, but maybe not. But I don't know if you can see there's this big boulder here. So that could definitely be used bottom left to sort of anchor the image with the clump of trees top right. The sun setting pretty much where it is now. You know, maybe a bit of softer light, and then obviously our friend the pine. We maybe even drop a little bit and get some separation. Perhaps not, but that's definitely another one to consider, isn't it? And as I step sort of further over this way, we've got this little inlet again with the rock in the foreground that sort of leads the eye into the frame. If we come across to about here, maybe a bit further, and then the further we come round, the more we can kind of get the old man of Coniston in as well. So that's another potential composition, I think, here as the sun starts to drop. So around the other side of the tarn now, another possible viewpoint is something along these lines, okay? We kind of lose the reflection of that pine, which I think is a bit of a shame. We have got these rocks here which could sort of lead the eye into the frame. You know, could maybe drop a little bit. And then obviously we've got the old man of Coniston there in the background. Well, I think I'm not really drawn to that. I think there's just too much grass. There's too much green going on, which I'm not a massive fan of. If we just come down here though, and go towards the water's edge, the wind is actually dropping now already in the short time it's taken me to record this. It definitely feels like there's a composition here, or hereabouts, with the pine on the left. You know, let's go a little bit further right without falling in the tarn ideally. The pine on the left with the reflection, the clump of trees with the reflection, and a little bit further, and then the reflection of the old man of Coniston and the kind of symmetry with the reflection of the grassy bank on the right. So I think this is the shot that I'm probably going to go for first, and then possibly the shot on the other side with the reflection of the tree on its own as a second option. All we need now is this light to just get a little bit softer and some colour in the sky. So it's another hour probably until sunset. We don't necessarily have to wait for the sun to completely set, but you know, obviously the sky is going to be quite nice once it has dropped. And yeah, the idea is to have this pine on the left reflected in the water, this clump of trees here reflected in the water, and then this small hill and the old man of Coniston also reflected in the water, all nicely spaced apart. And I think the key thing with this composition is going to be making sure that everything is kind of separated. So, you know, the trees aren't sort of over the old man of Coniston, and, you know, all of that. So trying to put each clump of trees maybe in like a little bit of a dip of the way the fell side, the mountains, whatever you want to call them, are kind of orientated. So we've gone for a few different options here. Just been shooting for the last kind of 10-15 minutes in changing light. Mike's just over to my right, dangerously close to the edge of the water with his Sony, to be honest. This could make amazing footage. It's a Nikon channel, right, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, what I've been doing, I've been basically kind of shooting this reflection. I've tried various different kind of exposure settings, I guess, and slightly different compositions, and then just for the last 5 minutes I've just moved the camera a little bit lower and slightly to the left to try and get the sun in, which you may just be able to see on my right now. I'm just setting behind that fell there, and what I've done is just kind of tried a few different exposure settings again, but shot at f16 and f22 just to try and get a little bit of a starburst, sunburst even. I guess it is a star though, isn't it, right? As it sort of sets behind the fell. So see how those come out. I mean, the sun has now dropped behind the fell, so it'll just be interesting to see what happens with the light. Hopefully we'll get some colour in the sky. There isn't really that much cloud, so it could just end up going dark, to be honest, but yeah, we'll see. So we're around the other side of the tarn now, and I'm just trying to get this pine here, and obviously the reflection underneath it, sort of separated from the fells that are in the background. So I've been really careful to try and get the shape of the pine to sort of mirror the shape of the fells a little bit. I'm trying to kind of think about the foreground as well and what reeds I include and what I don't, but it's kind of difficult, to be honest. So I'm going to probably worry about that in post and just, you know, shoot a little bit wider than maybe I would do, not cropping quite as much. And I'm shooting in a square format, and on this Nikon that does actually mean that I lose the pixels. I can't kind of get those back, but I quite like to sort of visualize it in the format that, you know, the final format, if that makes sense. So I'm shooting in a square format and I'm focusing basically on the tree. I'm not really too worried about the depth of field. I'm shooting at f11, got plenty of distance between the camera and the kind of first elements of the foreground, so that should be totally fine. And we're at just, I don't know, about 40 mils, something like that. F11, ISO 64, and a tenth of a second. And a cross of the fingers. So welcome back to my little office. I completely forgot to sign that video off, so I just thought it'd be useful just to kind of do that here really, and just have a quick look for a couple of minutes at the images that I got on that day. Before I do, just want to say a massive thanks to everybody for watching this video. You know, if it's your first time here, then, you know, thanks for getting through to here. You can do us a massive favour, hit that subscribe button and the like button. I'm not expecting to get millions, but it was just means so much to me to sort of see that other folk are getting something out of these videos. So, you know, if you have an opportunity to do that, it'd be massively appreciated. But back to the images. So yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic venue. I think I definitely need to go back there with some better light, and the main issue I had on this trip was light. So let's just have a look at what we've got here. So the first shot that we got on that trip was this shot with the starburst basically, and this was shot at ISO 64. It was 24 mil, so as wide as my zoom lens goes that I had on that day, and it's a 13th of a second at f22. And f22 on the Nikon 24-120 f4 I think gives you the best starburst. All right, you're going to lose a little bit of quality at f22, but it does give you that really good starburst. So if we just have a quick look at this shot, it's not a bad shot. I'm pretty happy with it. We just didn't get much colour in the sky on this day. You can sort of see that you've got, you know, just some blues, and I have warmed the image up a little bit in Lightroom just to give it that kind of more sepia tint. But it's a nice shot. The starburst worked quite well. There's still some detail around the sun, which is great, and I quite like the reflections. I think this is the classic shot from Kelly Hall Tarn, and it's definitely worth returning to on another day when there's some more colour in the sky. But yeah, I quite like it. Not a bad shot. This is the second shot that I took, obviously without the sun in it. We've just gone a little bit slightly to the right to sort of take the sun out of the frame. And again, there is a little bit more colour in the sky, top right, but not a lot. And I did try in the edit to try and bring that out, but there just wasn't anything there in the first place. And you can start messing with the colour grading and sort of bringing colours that aren't really there. But, you know, I'd rather that it sort of remained as natural as it possibly could, really. But yeah, again, I think it's not a bad shot, and it does show that there's definite potential for going back for this image on a day with better light in the sky. Third image that I went for in the square crop, not that happy with this, to be honest. And to be honest, I shot this quite late on in the evening, so a lot of the light had faded. There is a little bit of light in the sky there, and that's reflected again in the reflections. But, you know, I did a lot on this edit to try and sort of bring out colours that maybe weren't there, if I'm totally honest with you, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. I was just creating stuff that just didn't look natural. So it's, you know, it's quite a nice composition. I think there's definite potential for another day, but this was not really my favourite shot from the day, and this was taken at 37mm f11, and it's a 2-second exposure. Great stuff. So yeah, that's me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, like I say, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.